I messed up tonight. I lost another fight. I still mess up, but I'll just start again. I keep falling down. I keep on hitting the ground. I always get enough. See what's next. Birds don't just fly. They fall down and get up. Nobody learns without getting it wrong. I won't give up, no I won't give in till I reach the end and then I'll start again. No I won't leave, I wanna try everything, I wanna try even though I could fail.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again to Zootopia Minute, the minute-by-minute podcast where we review and analyze everybody's favorite hit Disney movie of 2016, Zootopia. As always, my name is Simul, and I am joined by my co-host,
Choco. How's everyone doing?
and it is so great to be back here, guys. We've had a little bit of a break. I was on vacation. Choco's been to some cons, I believe. So we've got all sorts of fun stuff to talk about. But before we get to any of that, let's take a look at the minute we will be analyzing this time, which is minute 52. And that's going to begin on 52:00 and end on 52:59 for your timestamp there. And just another note on the timestamps, guys. We've mentioned this a few times before, but recently there's been a slight shift in the digital copies you find online for Zootopia from where they originally were. This first began with the Netflix copy, which is no longer down. But if you're using the YouTube copy, the official YouTube copy, the starting point for the minutes on that version, because it has shifted a few seconds over, is going to be 48 seconds on the previous minute. So for instance, we're doing 52 right now. When we say 52:00, if you're using that version, you should say, okay, that means 51:48. And then the minute would end at 52:47. So just keep that in mind, guys, as we continue, because it was an unexpected shift in the way that the digital copies were presented online. They cut off a few seconds at the beginning or at the end or something. Anyway, it is a very exciting minute we are discussing. We have a brand new scene in a brand new place that we've never seen before. In our previous minute, Nick and Judy had been talking to Mr. Big, and he told them where they could find Otterton. They head on over to the Rainforest District to talk to the driver of the car that Emmett was last seen in, Monchus. He lives in the Rainforest District, and we first see Nick and Judy crossing this really crazy rope bridge to get to this guy's house. They knock on the door. It's very creepy. He opens the door, and upon Judy asking Monchus about what happened to Emmett, he responds saying, "You should be asking what happened to me," and pulls back the door dramatically to reveal that he's got scars over his eyes. So it appears that Emmett actually attacked Monchus. Judy asks what happens. Monchus describes a ferocious attack by Emmett, and we get an interesting little flashback seeing that. And then we end on a mysterious line where Monchus mentions that Emmett had kept yelling about the night howlers. Over and over again, the night howlers. And then our minute ends on the line, Nick says, "Oh, so you know about the night howlers too."
I'm guessing that's a gay furry club.
Oh my gosh. That's my new headcanon for that. Oh, this guy knows about the night howlers too, huh?
But look how he's dressed.
Oh, geez. So it's been a while, guys, but we are glad to have you back with us. We're off to a great start here with the Night Howler furry, gay furry club.
Well, speaking of furries and Disney, apparently Disney now has a movie that's the largest opening box office weekend, and it's a bigger Disney furry movie than Zootopia. Avengers Infinity Wars, because, there's the Black Panther, he dresses like a furry.
Oh, that's how you count it as a furry movie?
Yeah, isn't Infinity Wars a furry movie?
Sure. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I know nothing about it. I've only heard that it is the most ambitious crossover attempt in history, which I'm skeptical of, but okay.
All right. Well, yeah. So that's the Disney news, but let's get back to the real Disney furry movie.
Back to the minute, yes. So finally, right off the bat, what I love about this is that we finally get to see a new place in the city we haven't seen before, and that's the Rainforest District.
Yeah, well, we got a really, really brief glimpse of the Rainforest District when Judy was heading into Zootopia, but now we actually get to see it more in detail. Actually, not as detailed because it's kind of dark, so it sets like a very, very different mood. During the day, the Rainforest District must look very, very beautiful, but we're seeing it at night now. It kind of has a creepier vibe, and it kind of works for this minute.
Yeah, it seems dark and very rainy. I mean, it is a rainforest, but again, it shows the way that the people who made the movie can sort of create a certain kind of ambiance just by things like lighting and music, very simply. And so while we do have this very interesting landscape, it's cool to see how it can look different at different times. And actually, you know what, I'm wrong. We have seen it before, but only that short glimpse near the beginning when the train is going through the city when Judy is first arriving. So already there's a day and night difference. Literally a day and night difference between how these places look, just between those two scenes.
Well, what's interesting about the Rainforest District, I like looking at what they did to kind of make it feel like rainforesty culture. Actually, going back to another Disney furry movie, the Black Panther, and hey, isn't Manchas kind of a Black Panther? Well, what I liked about the Black Panther movie is how they represented the city of the country of Wakanda, which is an African country that was never colonized and had a lot more technology. So they had to build a futuristic looking African city with all of this futuristic technology blended with African architecture. And that's what I kind of liked about Zootopia to begin with, because it kind of blended the natural looking feel with a hypothetical version of how animals would build a city in line with, I guess, animal culture. And looking at the Rainforest District, I liked how they kind of represented this in a city that kind of looks like it has blends of how tribes live in the South American Amazon, with the rope bridges and habitations in the trees, as well as like little touches like the doorbell being what sounds like little, what would you call them, like wind chimes, and the rainforest sticks, the rain sticks.
I was gonna say that it sounds a lot like those big heavy bamboo wood chimes. This is as Judy goes up to ring the bell to see if Manchas is home. But yeah, no, I do love the way that the city looks different in all these different areas and how the architecture varies. I kind of think it looks like Endor, you know, like an Ewok is going to answer the door or something, because they're up in the canopy. That's actually something that struck me as really interesting too about this, is that the Rainforest District has a lot of vertical depth to it that some of the other parts of town probably don't have, unless you just have high-rise buildings. Here they've got these giant trees and they've got animals with houses up in the canopy of these trees, which is a good reflection actually on how rainforest ecosystems work in reality, is that as you go higher up in the trees or further down towards the ground, it's like totally different little biozones, different ecology in each area.
And it's kind of funny now that you mentioned Ewoks, because they're Disney property now as well.
Oh my gosh.
Just like the Black Panther.
Everything is Disney. We're not sponsored by them.
So Zootopia is great because you could see that, even though you mentioned it has that feel of some of the Ewok cities you saw in Star Wars properties. I was mentioning how the architecture had the world building that I saw with Wakanda. But this is just really, really small. We only see one inhabitant of the Rainforest District. So as you were saying, rainforests are very, very big ecosystems. There's many layers and canopies to a rainforest, and there will be like scavengers on the bottom all the way to the birds on the top. But right now we're only looking at one subsection, one inhabitant of this area. So it's obviously a much bigger world to explore, but we're only looking at one little slice of it.
That's what the fan fiction's for, to get all those other slices. Seriously, guys, send us your fan fiction. All right, so let's keep on going in the minute here. Judy goes up to the door. Mr. Manchas, Judy Hop, CPD, we just want to know what happened to Emmett Otterton. This doorbell is ringing. It's those awesome wood chimes. And then this door opens very, very slowly. And we finally get our first glimpse of Manchas, which is a big black paw reaching out. We have Judy and Nick looking kind of tense. Actually, what I thought was adorable real quick was the camera's focused on Judy's face as she's saying that last line. And then right as the door starts to open, her nose twitches like really intensely. I don't know if you noticed that, but again, just those tiny details.
And I love Nick's expression as well. Nick again has some great expressions. You can see he kind of has a worried look on his face when the door opens as well.
Well, Manchas says in this very spooky voice, "You should be asking what happened to me." And then as soon as he says me, we see behind the door, his right eye is badly scratched. There's like that sort of stereotypical like anime scar over his right eye, which is scratched,
which I never got. Those anime
I know it's a
eyes.
trope. It's always over the one eye. There's so many characters like that. Like
Yeah.
Scar in The Lion King and what's his name? Oh yeah, Scar in Billy and Mandy. They're
Anyone
always
named
called
Scar.
Scar.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? My name is David, but no one's ever asked. They only know me for my scar.
Do you think they're named Scar after the scar, or do you think the parents knew that they would have a scar somewhere in
Yeah.
the future?
The parents just knew. Or, I don't know, they gave him the scar upon birth, like some weird ceremony. I don't want to think about that. We're too off topic here. So, Manchus, who, according to the movie transcript, his first name is Renato, says, "You should be asking what happened to me." And Nick responds,
can you place
"Wait a
the
minute.
accent?
Sorry?
Can you place the accent?
I don't know. It sounds generically kind of Latin.
I was thinking European Spanish.
Yeah,
A
exactly.
bit, yeah.
Spanish or Italian. It's more like a Spanish kind of thing. Definitely sounds that way. Well, Judy and Nick gasp in response to what Manchus just said. Nick responds, "Whoa, a teensy otter did that?" Judy asks, "What happened?" And then Manchus brilliantly has the line, "He was an animal!" Like we didn't know that already. Again, this parallels a line we just had in the previous minute where Mr. Big had that interesting sort of stoic thing, that quote where he says, "We may be evolved, but deep down, we are still animals." And we were remarking on that on the last episode, how interesting it is that they still refer to themselves as animals. And here, I think it's even more interesting the way that Manchus puts it, because he's almost saying we're not animals any longer. Like,
Yeah.
he was an animal, we're not animals. I'm saying he's an animal to set him apart from us, to say that he's particularly beastly and primal and primitive in some way.
And I'm wondering if in this world, that's what their academic debates are centered around. Because Simul and I, we've been listening to a bunch of debates on, like, I think, religion and atheism lately. But in this world, I'm assuming if that's, like, kind of the same thing. If it's a debate whether, are we still considered animals or we're not animals, but we have these primal instincts, have we evolved past the animal point? I don't know. I could just imagine that taking place in this world.
Evolve past the animal point. They just transplant their minds into machines. That's the only true way.
Singularity.
Yeah. All right, well, what happens next is we get this super interesting flashback. And remember now, Manchus was the driver of the limo that Emmett had gotten into. We see that he's in the front in a very nice suit as a chauffeur, driving this limo. He looks in the rearview mirror and he sees Emmett tearing apart the seats in the back. Like he's just acting crazy and ripping apart the seats, which is consistent with the fact that we saw all those scratches and tears in the seats when Nick and Judy stumbled across the car earlier. And then remarks about Emmett, "He was a savage." Again, more primitive language there. We then see that Emmett jumps up and attacks Manchus, lunges at him. The car spins out of control, almost hits a car coming in the opposing lane. Manchus screams in pain, jumps out of the car, grabs at his eye, and then we watch as Emmett climbs out of the car, goes on top of the roof, stares at the camera, snarls, and then runs off.
So basically, like we were saying, the nighttime mood kind of makes this a scary scene, and we have a jump scare in this moment.
Yes, though this is not the same nighttime.
It's not the same nighttime, but we do have a jump scare, which I will admit did startle me because I could not imagine a cute little otter to be so vicious and ferocious, especially the way they designed him, that his pupils are all dilated and you can only see the tiny little points of light reflecting from his eyes.
The way they did his eyes was crazy. Those are crazy intense eyes. It was very frightening, actually.
And then you mentioned that in the previous minutes, we saw how they were investigating the scratch marks on the car. I'm wondering if the animators did go into detail and actually line up where he was attacking and scratching the seats.
Yeah, like the scratch is in the same place where we saw it could be. No, I really wouldn't be surprised if they did. I mean, there's a lot of attention to detail in these movies already anyways. Well, Manchus then continues saying, "There was no warning. He just kept yelling about the night howlers over and over, the night howlers." And then Nick responds, now this is already something very cryptic, and Nick responds, "Oh, so you know about the night howlers too?" And that's where the minute ends. But the way he says that line, to me it seems like Nick is sort of setting this up, because as far as we know, I don't think Nick and Judy know about any night howlers, whatever that is. I don't think we've heard of any night howlers so far in the movie, actually. So it seems like Nick, just like the audience, we don't know what the night howlers are. Nick and Judy don't know, but I think Nick is setting up to kind of play it like they do know, just to get more information. What do you think?
Yeah, it sounds like one of those conspiracy theory things where you're trying to talk to a conspiracy theorist, and it's like, oh, you know about the flat Earth too, don't you? Okay, well, let's talk about the hologram projection over the dome. Yeah.
The firmament. I love the word firmament.
It's such a fun term.
It is.
But yeah, no, it's like when you're trying to talk to someone, you're trying to get information out of someone who's kind of in a different field that you don't understand, so you're just pretending to understand,
Right. Well, that ended on a very cryptic line, though. So now the audience is left to speculate, what are these night howlers?
Well, maybe Nick does understand the night howlers. We really don't know yet.
It could be. I just don't know. His tone makes me doubt it.
Well, maybe it's a secret society furry
I was going
gay
to
club.
say,
that
it sounds like
they're,
right? The gay furry nightclub.
that only they know. Well,
Only they know. So Nick is like, oh, you know too. All right.
okay.
Hey, do you want to go out sometime? Or...
Oh no. You're
I'm
gonna
sure
ruin a
that's
bunch of people's
totally what
ship.
the Night Howlers are, what that is. It sounds like a gang, too. Like, it could be a gang or, like you said, a secret society. We'll have to find out in the next minute, I guess. Very creepy minute to come back to.
Yeah. But it was a fun minute, so we'll see what happens.
It was. All right, so that'll do it for the minute portion of the podcast. But for just a few more minutes before we go, there's been quite a big break that we've had. We were gone for about a month, I think, probably over a month.
Yeah.
And we had mentioned that was going to happen. That was due to a number of things. Both me and Choco went to some conventions, and I went on vacation to Hawaii, and it was just an awesome time. So, Choco, why don't you tell me how your break has been?
So we do apologize that we've been on a big break, but as I said, I've had a few conventions. I went to BabsCon where I was a community guest. Afterwards, I went to Windy City. Before then, I was at a Doctor Who convention called Regeneration,
That's
so
so
it was
cool.
a lot of fun.
And you met Peter Capaldi.
I did meet Peter Capaldi. It was really, really fun. And Michelle Gomez, who was also right across from me. Michelle Gomez wore cat ears. I'm guessing she's a furry. I don't know. I asked her agent, because her agent was also wearing cat ears. They were
You
very,
asked
very
her
nice.
agent if she was a furry?
Well, I actually tweeted. So Michelle Gomez was sitting her autograph booth. Both Peter Capaldi's and Michelle Gomez. If you guys don't know, Michelle Gomez plays Missy or the Master. They were both right across from me during their autograph signings. And I snapped a picture of Michelle Gomez. She had like 3 cat ears on, and I think a fan brought her another cat ear. So I kind of just posted the picture on Twitter with a question mark. Is Michelle Gomez a furry? Must investigate further. And her agent liked it.
Oh my gosh.
So I got to chat with them afterwards. They're really, really nice people. Michelle Gomez is just as nice. She's basically the Master in person as well. Kind of eccentric and very, very fun. Peter Capaldi was also very, very nice. I gave him a few gifts, even though he was swamped the entire time. There was no time where I could really have one-on-one with him because he was always being forwarded back and forth to different areas. I did do a photo shoot with him. I never really do photo shoots with any stars, but I was like, might as well. Peter Capaldi is my first Doctor and my favorite Doctor, so I forked over the $100 to get a photo shoot with him, and I was wearing my Doctor Who shirt.
Perfect.
And I was like, Peter, you're my first Doctor. So I actually came through Doctor Who because of My Little Pony, and I showed him my Doctor Who shirt, and he was like, well, we all have to start somewhere, don't we?
Work my way up.
Yeah, so he was very, very nice. And that was a really fun con. BabsCon was really, really nice as well. It was very nice to be invited back as a community guest. They treat their guests really, really nice. I was roommates with Dusty Cat. We had a really, really fun weekend. So anyone who stopped by my booth at BabsCon, it was nice to see you and thank you. And I also was at Windy City, which is a pony convention in Chicago, which also was very fun because I got to eat a bunch of deep dish pizza, which is the Chicago favorite there.
That's the real reason you went, right? I mean, the con's just a plus.
I think so. Actually, to be honest, I think the only con I went purposely for profit was probably Babs. The other 2 cons, I was like, I kind of want to visit Baltimore and Chicago again. So that's what happened. And since then, I've been stuck here in Austin, just working on new art for the next coming cons because we have a lot of cons coming up.
We do.
My birthday is coming up, and I have BLFC, and right after that, we have Everfree Northwest. Right after that, I'll be a community guest at St. Louis Crystal Fair. Right after that is High Roller Polycon, which we'll both be at. And right after that is A-Con. So, 5 cons back to back. It'll be really, really fun. But yeah, well, I'll think about that later. But it sounds like you had a lot of fun too, and it seems like you had a lot of good food as well. Probably better than what I was eating.
Well, I don't know about that, but I did have an amazing time. So my break started out while Choco was at BabsCon. I went to the con that prevents me from going to BabsCon every time. The number one reason I will never go to BabsCon, SakuraCon in Seattle. SakuraCon, as some of you may know, it's a big anime convention in Seattle, and it is one of my all-time favorite cons to go to, and I would never skip it for anything ever. So sorry, BabsCon, I'm never coming. They need to move. If they move, maybe I'll consider it.
Wasn't
But,
C2E2 the same time this year as well? There was like a bunch of cons that I think Furry Weekend Atlanta and Awesome Con was also
Easter
the same
weekend
con.
is just cheaper for
Yeah.
venues. Like, it's cheaper to get a venue for that time because no one else wants it. Fair enough. But anyways, Sakura Con is great every single year. I love it so much. It's kind of the one con I get to go to where I don't have anything I'm supposed to be doing. Like, sometimes I'll submit a panel or something, but I'm not staffing it. It's just time to relax and hang out with friends. And it's a lot of fun. I love that con so much. And this time it was awesome because my friend Squiggly Dig, who some of our listeners might know, she's on YouTube and she does animations and song covers and things like that. But she visited me all the way from Nova Scotia, which was awesome.
Oh, nice.
We'd been online friends for a bit, but we'd never met in person. So it was really great to have her come out and visit. We did Speed Racer and Trixie cosplays. If any of you have ever seen Speed Racer, you can find
Trixie's
photos
my
of that
favorite
up.
pony.
No, not that Trixie. Different Trixie. Though I'm sure that crossover exists. Avengers Infinity Wars is the most ambitious crossover attempt, and no.
I'm just
it's
going to
Trixie,
Google Speed Racer MLP to see if anything pops up. Of course, Rainbow Dash is Speed Racer.
Rainbow Dash. Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty already. But yeah, that was great. Sakura Con was a lot of fun. And then, interestingly enough, the same day that Squiggly Dig flew home to Nova Scotia, I was also flying out at the very same time to go to Hawaii for the first time in my life. My parents have owned a place in Hawaii that they rent out for like 10 years or something now, 8 years, something like that.
Wait, they owned it for 10 years and this is the first time in your life going?
This is the first time I've ever been. Yeah. No one in our family has been very often. It's very rare when anyone goes, but me and my younger sister had never been before, and this was the first time that either of us went. And it was awesome. We went to Maui. That's the island where we were. We had a condo in a cool little town on the shore called Kihei, and it was just an awesome time. I was there for like 10 days. It was really interesting, actually. We went and saw a lot of cool things. We went hiking for a few days, went up to the top of Haleakala, which is the volcano on Maui, the big one of two, actually. And I did enjoy a lot of the local food. If you look at my Twitter feed, there's a lot of pictures of fish. It's all mostly fish there, actually. And it was just a lot of fun. Interestingly enough, the weather was actually not super great. It wasn't bad. It was so weird because it was just kind of rainy for a lot of the time we were there, and everyone around us was like, oh my gosh, like this is the worst the weather has ever been here. It's so terrible. We never get anything like this. And me being from Seattle, I'm like, okay, first of all, this is not bad weather. This is still good weather. But yeah, it was a little rainier than we would have preferred. Funny thing, as soon as we got back to Seattle, the travel section of the Seattle Times had an article called Save This Article for a Rainy Day on Maui. And it was like activities you can do when the weather's not great on Maui specifically. And it's like, where was this 2 weeks ago? We really could have used this article. Bad timing there. But yeah, no, I had a ton of fun while I was there. I definitely want to go back soon. Went ziplining. That was pretty cool. Actually, ziplining, we did that on the last day, the day we were flying out. And it was along these hillsides in the West Maui Mountains. And the longest zipline we did was something like 3,000 feet long from one end to the other. And the highest one we did was something like 600 feet above the ground. And they were all very amazing. And actually, a lot of the scenery in Hawaii looks very similar to the Rainforest District, actually. It's the same kind of plants and stuff. It was almost like I was flying above the Rainforest District itself.
Well, that sounds fun. I only went to Hawaii once myself, and that was like almost more than 10 years ago. I don't think I went ziplining. It was a cruise ship. I think it was probably Norwegian, but we went through, I think, 4 of the islands.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
So it was like kind of like one island every 1 or 2 days, which was pretty nice.
That's super cool. Yeah, it was so interesting being there and realizing like this is the furthest I'd ever been from home, and like the weather is just so different. It's perpetually hot and sunny in Hawaii all year round. They don't really have seasons.
What's interesting, I think a common theme, well, I actually didn't really mention the weather, but a common theme for both our breaks were kind of strange or extreme weather for that specific area. Because what's interesting is when I left Austin for Chicago, it was, I think, in the 40s, which is really, really cold for Texas. And I got to Chicago, it was in the 70s. Within the first day of the con, it went from the 70s all the way to the 20s, and it stayed in the low 20s for the entire weekend, snowing in Chicago. So I don't know. It's crazy weather.
This is supposed to be the Windy City. All I'm getting is snow.
But yeah, so one thing I remember that I really miss about Hawaii is the fresh fruit, specifically the pineapple. So were you able to enjoy any of the fresh fruit there?
Not really. More than fruit, I was more interested in the fish. I did have some fruit, but the fish is what I was really into. And oh my gosh, the grocery stores in Hawaii are amazing. And I wish we had ones here like they have on Hawaii, because there is so much, like the Asian section is so much larger, because Hawaii has a fairly large population of East Asian people, specifically Japanese immigrants. There's a lot of Japanese immigrants in Hawaii. And so the grocery stores, they're catered to that, and I love it so much. They had, oh my gosh, their seafood section had like 15 types of poke, which I love.
Oh,
I adore
love poke.
And this was a Safeway seafood section, and there was just a massive selection of it. I was very happy about that. Also had some Spam. Made sure to buy some Spam.
Spam is really popular and famous in a lot of Hawaiian dishes, especially if you had, I forgot what that one dish is called, but I love it. It's the seaweed wrap. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had some of that as well. But yeah, lots of fish, really good fresh ahi steaks that we grilled up. So much fun. It was
I'm
a
guessing
great trip.
you
I can't wait to go
bumped
back.
into the ABC stores too.
Yeah, I went to the ABC stores. It's a really cool.
They were everywhere.
Yeah, it's like a really pimped out convenience store with a lot of touristy stuff.
I don't know if when I went, they were more common than like seeing a Starbucks here in America, because I would remember walking out of the hotel and
in America, Hawaii is America.
Well, I mean, continental United States. But I know when I would walk out of the hotel, or when we'll go to any area, there would be an ABC store on every single street corner if you're on an intersection, and then there will be 2 or 3 ABC stores back to back with each other. These are completely separate stores. These aren't different entrances. These are 2 ABC stores just right next by each other. It's like, why? Why so obsessive?
Yeah. It's interesting how the culture in Hawaii has developed just because it's so cut off, and there's a lot of native history there as well. But I had an amazing time, and I would love to go back as soon as possible.
We should plan that. We should plan a Hawaii trip. That'll be fun.
Oh man, I'm sure that will be inexpensive.
Save money. Well, Disney does have a Hawaiian resort.
Of course they do. They do.
That might be something.
Maybe someday. Okay, guys, so that's going to be about it for this episode. But just one quick thing to look forward to. If any of you are going to Everfree Northwest, Seattle's own My Little Pony convention, we will be there once again to host a live episode of Zootopia Minute for the 2nd year in a row. So if you're going to Everfree Northwest, our panel is going to be on Saturday in the Cadence Room from 3:45 to 4:45 p.m. So definitely make sure to come check us out. We'll be happy to say hi to you.
Yeah, and I'll be vending there as well, and doing a few other panels, so make sure to just keep an eye on us on Twitter and see any updates, and we might have some surprises there at the con if you want to meet us there in person.
Yes, indeedy. All right, guys, so I do think that is going to be just about it for this episode of Zootopia Minute. If you did enjoy the podcast, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Twitter at Zootopia Minute, like us on Facebook as well, and you can also send anything you would like to our email address, zootopiaminute@gmail.com, just with your thoughts about the show or anything you would like to share with us. All right, guys, we will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good one.
Have a good weekend, and watch out for Thanos. Bye.
Bye-bye.